pacing in great detail throughout the next 2 hours, Ed, but just give us a sense of how revolutionary this open V formation is.
Well, it just looks like it shouldn't work. They're running with this wide front, and it's a reverse V, and you think, well, how can that work? But everyone tells me that it reduces drag on Elliott, and they've done all the testing that they need to do to ensure that it's actually the optimal formation.
2 men behind, of course, as we've said, and we'll introduce you to the new teams as they come and go. The drop-in, drop-out function or system is going to be absolutely key, so we'll be making sure that we talk you through that. But essentially, in terms of formation, it's 2 at the front, 2 behind them, then the captain, and in this case it's Bernard Lagat, the multiple world and Olympic champion. There he is, centre picture, with all that experience at 44 years old. Elliott, of course, in the white, right at the heart of it, and then the 2 wingmen behind. And the way they come in and out will be absolutely key. Shalane, the magic figure of 250-something has been achieved. It means they're through the first kilometre.
Yeah, I mean, they look relaxed like they should, right? They look amazing.
Absolutely fantastic. Now, here we go. Look, the first kilometre completed, 41.2 to go. The speed at which they are travelling is quite extraordinary. We saw before the race started, the challenge started, the treadmill with various people trying to have a go. And I have to say, Ed, I'm sure you're the same. I've actually been on a treadmill at sub-2-hour marathon speed. I lasted about 40 seconds. They had a couple of people standing behind me at the back to make sure I didn't fall off. It's going that quick. Shalane, let's talk about all the ingredients that need to go into producing this phenomenal feat. A lot of people, including Haile Gebrselassie, have likened it to a recipe, if you like, for making the perfect cake. And I know you've written a couple of cookery books yourself. So let's just talk over the next couple of hours about the various ingredients we need to make sure that this perfect cake, this sub-2-hour marathon, is achieved. And I guess the first thing we need to talk about is the main ingredient, a world-class athlete in tip-top condition. So, as an athlete, what makes Elliott so special?
Well, I look at Elliott, and his career started as a track athlete. He has this background and pedigree of being a phenomenal track racer. I believe he's run about 12:48, I believe, in the 5K. He has won 11 of his 12 marathons. He's run London 4 times, Berlin 3 times. He's won the 2016 Rio Olympics. He has every accolade there is to his name, and this is really the last barrier for him. But all of that training over his career is setting up the stage for today. All of that training is accumulated into hopefully a phenomenal performance.
And Ed, you were in Monza like Shalane. What are the improvement points, do you think, essentially, when it boils down to it? That was a terrifically successful experiment. It needs to be bettered here in Vienna today. What are the key things that need to be improved, do you think?
I think the course is slightly better. It's straighter. And turns are one of the things that hurt you in terms of time. I think that this pace formation could make a big difference. They're also wearing the most advanced shoes, so that's a difference. The intake of carbs, which he gets through a drink or a gel that's taped onto the bottle, that's been slightly refined. So the important thing is that he's not going to hopefully run out of fuel. So all these tiny little tweaks are helping him along.
I believe he's consuming the Moritin gels and fluids every 5K, and I believe it's like about 250 milliliters is what he'll be consuming.
Right, we'll see that. And we've just out of picture, we've actually got Valentin Troy, who's the performance manager. He's the athlete manager. He will be on the bicycle, who will be handing the drinks to Elliott and the gels, and we'll talk you through that when it happens. We're looking for, about 7:50 or so, aren't we, for the first 3 kilometres when the pacemaker teams will change. Just a quick word about Eliud Kipchoge, the man. We've heard how humble he is, how disciplined, how down-to-earth he is. You've spent some time out there. What is he like as a person?
Well, he is humble. He also has to have a certain amount of self-belief and arrogance, if you like. When he gets into races, he knows he's going to do it. So you don't win 11 out of your 12 marathons by not having belief in yourself. So he has a great and humble attitude to life in general. He gets on pretty well with his teammates. He mucks in with chores. you know, he's a much-loved person in his training camp and around Kenya. But, you know, when he's out there today, he's the boss, which is what he also gets called in camp. So, you know, he's just switched into boss mode right now.
He is a phenomenal person as well as a phenomenal athlete, and there he is just bunched in behind the pacemakers. The absolute trust between all 8 people at any one time cannot be overstated. Bernard Lagat there, right at the heart of it, the initial captain, and he will be handing over shortly to the second team, and Eric Kiptanui will be the second captain. And there are 9 stages altogether. The formation, barring any unforeseen circumstances, the formation will remain the same throughout each of the teams. And the one constant throughout of all this, of course, is Eliud himself. Eliud Kipchoge there in the white at the heart of things. Back to Eliud the person. I mean, you mentioned the fact that he's a man of the people. He takes his turn, doesn't he, at chopping vegetables and cleaning the toilets. He doesn't live at home when they're on camp. He just lives a few kilometers away, but he insists on being part of the group all the time.
Yeah, and I think that's you know, the key thing for him is just to keep doing the same things that have led him to this point. So he's not had his head turned by making a lot of money. You know, his family live in quite comfortable circumstances, and he doesn't most of the time. So you can, you know, there are a lot of different athletes that might have dealt with that a different way. But his way is just to keep on doing the same simple things that have got him to this point.
You mentioned his family. Shalane, we've got his wife and 3 children here today. It's a first, his wife Grace, and they're all watching him live in a marathon, in this case a challenge, for the first time.
Yeah, Grace is, well, he calls affectionately his family his ignition key, which is a beautiful term. Yeah, his wife, Grace, he said, is his main supporter. She takes care of the family farm and the 3 children, Lynn, Griffin, and Jordan. He finds that his family is his inspiration and plays a huge role in what he's able to do. And I believe this is the first time his family has traveled to come to one of his races. So I think he wants to make sure that they're part of something historical today. And so I'm sure they're extremely nervous. As a family member watching my family compete, it's always easier to be the athlete than actually being the supporting role.
Well, 3 kilometers approaching, so we're expecting a change, Ed, very shortly of the team.
Yeah, and I, for one, of you know, this formation, it looks strange and it's wonderful. You know, you see Jack Rayner there with a fabulous sort of 1970s style moustache spread across his face, giving us a sort of nostalgic feel. This is a, you know, what the organisers are calling a kind of a K shape.
Or a Y shape.
Or a Y shape, I guess, you know. But we had these 2 tail gunners here, and and all of it is to do with creating a little pocket of air around Eliud.
You'll see on the left of screen there that there's the green laser. This is the laser pacer. And we are actually at the finish line, of course, waiting in, less than 2 hours' time now for the crescendo, the climax of this race. And the Pacers and Eliud are just about to go in front of us for the first time. And I can tell you, the atmosphere out on the course is absolutely electric. There is Valentin Troy on the bicycle, just tracking them, keeping a safe, respectful distance. And we're keeping an eye out here for the first changeover. They're going to go past the finish line, what will be the finish line later on in the challenge. And there is the laser pacer, if you like. That is the pace that will bring him home inside 2 hours. And Ed, we're approaching the time for the phase changeover. And as I think Shalane was likening, here we go. Shalane, talk us through this.
Yeah, I was likening it to in the U.S., a NASCAR pit stop where we change out tires, you know, fine-tune the machine. Same thing goes here for Eliud. He's switching out and getting fresh runners that are hopefully smoothly transitioning into formation so that Eliud can just draft and conserve as much energy as possible.
Well, you can see there Bernard Lagat just giving a little hand clap, and he just peels away. And Ed, as a first transition, and here's the new team taking over, Team 2, with Eric Kiptanui now taking the Lagat role as the captain, just ahead of Eliud himself. Ed, for you, how smooth was that?
That was pretty smooth. And did you see that Bernard Lagat hung around there? So everyone else in the team dropped out. Bernard Lagat stayed in front of Eliud to give him the protection while the other team swapped in, and then he swapped out last.
Shalane, just talk us through 1 or 2 of the highlights of this second team here. Paul Chigimo in the group.
So Eric Kiptanui, though, he is taking a brunt of the work today. He's going to be doing the second, sixth, and eighth transitions. He's a half marathon specialist who is the sixth fastest man ever over the half marathon distance. He's run a gaudy 58:42 time that he clocked to win the 2018 Berlin half marathon. He's also won the 2018 Barcelona half marathon and the 2019 Lisbon half marathon. This man is a specialist, like I said, in the half marathon, and so he's going to be doing a lot of the work today.
One of the constants actually in this, apart from Elliot in that first changeover, is that Emmanuel Betts and Gideon Kipchoge have stayed as the wingman at the back end.
Okay, yeah, I was not expecting that. I thought the whole team were going to change, so just goes to show.
Yeah.
So they're doing a proper stint here. That's 10K. What is that? 29 minutes?
28 minutes,
28,
roughly, right?
29 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. So that's going a good lick. So they're getting a workout.
We're getting a good view here of the parter. We heard in the build-up to the challenge starting how important this course is. At the moment we're on target. We will be bringing you, of course, the projected time as we go through this extraordinary event. 1:59.50 is so far the projected time. An interesting hearing from Valentin Tro, who's the gentleman there on the bicycle, who will be handing the drinks to Eliud Kipchoge throughout this challenge. Interesting to hear him, Shalane, say that they're aiming for 2:50 pace, 2:50 per kilometre as a constant throughout the race.
Yeah, and that's intriguing to me because, I heard that there was talk that, yeah, he's going to go for sub-2, but what if Eliud wants to run faster? Will he be able to dictate the cars and the pacers to go actually faster than 250 a K? We'll see what happens, but yeah, having a nice, consistent pace is optimal for running fast. You always want to run consistent all the way to the finish, or you want a negative split where you run the second half faster than you do the first.
Well, one of the big landmarks coming up is the 5-kilometre split. The clock approaching 14 minutes, as you can see there, bottom right of screen. And if he's on schedule, he should be hitting 5 kilometres in 14 minutes and 13 seconds. And as Gabby was saying before we started here, just contrast that to what the average person does, certainly in Great Britain and throughout Europe, in a park run, 5 kilometres. Many people watching today, of course, will be watching the Ineos 159 challenge and then going out to run a park run themselves. So Eliud Kipchoge should be now hitting the 5-kilometre mark. Ed, how is he looking?
I think he looks pretty good, but then he always looks pretty good. So let's see what, they say in Kenya the race starts at 35. If he's still looking good at 35, I think he's got a great shot. But one of the tells that you have with Eliud, if we can see him, is that sometimes he looks with his thumbs when he's very relaxed. He looks like he's brushing lint from his, lapels of his tuxedo jacket, perhaps. You get this beautiful rhythm. And he's slightly in trouble when he stops brushing lint. So, right now, he looks super relaxed. And it doesn't look like this pace is hurting him too much, but let's see how he goes.
Absolutely, long way to go. And Shalane, for those people perhaps who've never seen Eliud race before, in the final stages, when most of us would be on our knees, and I think all three of us in this commentary booth have run a marathon ourselves, that's the very time when Eliud breaks into a smile.
He does. It is counterintuitive. When he is hurting most, he has a giant smile across his face, and people think like, oh, what is he giggling at? Like, what is going on here? But that's his way of trying to trick his brain to lean into the hurt and to try to not recognize the pain that he's putting himself through. But that is the telltale sign that everyone knows when Eliud is hurting, he's actually smiling.
I also think he might actually do that when he's in a very close race as well. Sometimes I remember when he was in this big fight with Wilson Kipsang in the London Marathon, and he shot him a big smile when he took it near the end. That would be intimidating.
Well, we talked about Eliud the athlete, we've talked a little bit about Eliud the person. Of course, a factor, and we go back to our little metaphor of the cake and all the ingredients that go into make this. We're approaching the first of the roundabouts here. This is the Musthaus. This is the smaller of the two roundabouts. So essentially, in image terms, we're looking at like a dog's bone, if you like, with a straight piece along the middle, which is the part of the Hauptallee, and they're now going around the smaller of the two roundabouts, the Lusthaus, and in the middle of that is a former hunting lodge, and it was badly bombed actually during the Second World War and then rebuilt in 1948. There it is, there is the Lusthaus, and it's now, Shalane, a place to grab coffee. It's a cafe and a restaurant, and I think we may all be going for breakfast actually afterwards. And maybe Elliot would join us.
Yes, I think it's important to note too, with these lines that you're seeing in the road, that these lines are actually for Elliot, that he does not cross over the line, because if he did cross over the line, he would technically be DQ'd because he'd be running less than the marathon distance. So these lines that are in the road are not for the pacers, they're for Elliot to make sure he doesn't cross over. You
can just see the first time that fluid has been passed to Elliot. You can see him in the white, just shielded by the pacemakers, taking on board the vital fluid and gels that he needed. Then he's handing it back to Valentin Troy, and now what happens?
So interesting, he was handed off at about 6K instead of 5K, but that may be more just the logistics of getting around the actual roundabout. But yeah, he just handed, I believe, one bottle, maybe a gel. We've heard that he's going to be taking in gels and fluids, so.
Okay, you can see the recent splits there. The 250 mark in green means that he's on schedule for a sub-2-hour marathon pace. 252 and 251 in the red means he's just outside. He's been twice on target and twice just outside. Overall, look, 8 seconds inside. It just shows us, Ed, even in these early stages, just how challenging it is.
Yeah, I mean, they want to run even splits, but it is impossible to run completely even kilometers one after another. So what we're talking about here is someone trying to, get as close as they can to 250 for as long as possible.
As things stand, he is 8 seconds in. The speed here, it's worth, Shalane, just reflecting on this and just trying to put it into some sort of layman's terms. He is going to be running, or trying to run, consistently at 13 miles an hour, 21 kilometers an hour. Extraordinary. We were trying to think last night, weren't we, over dinner, about an everyday example of what that speed looks like. And in London, where I come from, the average speed, I think, of a London bus and traffic in central London is only about 8 miles an hour. Have you thought of something that will illustrate that?
Yeah, I mean, same thing. I think about, what cars would roll through a neighborhood and through my neighborhood, and thinking that Elliot's running as fast as the cars rolling through my neighborhood. It's mind-blowing. I challenge people to go out to their local track and just run one lap, 400 meters of the track in 68 seconds. I bet you not many people can do that. So that just goes to show, and Elliot has to do that.
105 times.
Yes, thank you for doing the math. 105 times.
Yeah, we can break this down in so many ways, can't we? Yes, one lap of the track, if you go down to your local track, 68 seconds. And he has to do that 105 times. And as we heard earlier on, each 100 meters in 17 seconds. And he will be doing that 422 times. Let's get a view of the next pacemakers, the next group of pacemakers, Team 3, who will take them through 8 kilometers to 13 kilometers, are waiting here. The captain of this team will be Brett Robinson, and it features all 3 of the Ingebrigtsens.
This is really remarkable. It was very fun to have all 3 of these Ingebrigtsen brothers from Norway in the same 5,000 meters race, and now they're all part of the same team here. This is one of the really cool things about this event, is that people come from 10 different countries, and they're all part of this one project. And the story of these brothers is remarkable anyway, that they're all world-class athletes. So to have them all in the same team is really something here.
Yeah, and the Ingebrigtsens just came off of the World Championships in Doha, where they competed in the 5,000 meters and 1,500 meters and had a great World Championships. Maybe we're hoping to come away with more medals, but they've extended their season to come here and help Elliot, and I think that's tremendous. The last K, the 7th K, was in 2:48, so we are under prescribed schedule right now.
Yeah, and just a couple of seconds makes all the difference. So we've just given ourselves a little bit more margin for comfort here. 10 seconds inside sub-2-hour pace so far, and we're heading towards the 8-kilometer mark. Ed, just a little update on what we read into the facial expression and the body language of Elliot himself.
Yeah, I think he looks smooth. It doesn't look like he's hurting too badly. This will be a tumult of exertion. There's just no other way to look at it. He's going to spend 2 hours working really hard, but what he's trying to do is tamp down those feelings. Shalane has actually done this, you know, at a professional level and won big marathons, and I wonder what it actually feels like when you're in this situation.
Yeah, these early stages, I'm thinking all about conserving energy because it's inevitably going to get hard. But you're always hoping that you're having an on day and that the hard doesn't get hard to the very end. No matter what, once you hit about 30 to 35K, reality sinks in that you're running a marathon and that you're running very fast. And you know, Elliot is attempting unknown territory. Each step that he's taking is towards history. He is racing the clock and running towards history. So there's a lot of motivation to nail this and get it dialed in. And here we approach the third transition here.
Team 3 just about to take over. The captain, Brett Robinson. And again, we'll introduce you to the members of Team 3, but it's again another very smooth transition. There we can say Henrik Ingebrigtsen, Philip as well, and Jakob, centre of picture, all fresh, as Shalane was saying, from the World Championships in Doha. Again, marks out of 10, Ed, for that transition.
I think that one was the best one yet.
Agreed, that looks so smooth. You know, it could be the fact that three brothers are so accustomed to running together, but that looked really smooth. And
the crowd appreciated it as well. You can hear them tapping on the sides there, absolutely fully dialed in. So let's introduce you to this new team. Team 3, remember there are 5 teams in total, and we've not got 1, but 2, but 3 Ingebrigtsen. Shalane, just pick out 1 or 2 of these for us.
Well, so Brett Robinson actually is the team captain. He's the Australian. Oh, Henrik.
Stanley Kebanay as well from Kenya. There are 15 Kenyans across the 41 pacemakers. There is Philip Ingebrigtsen as well, the middle brother, and Jakob as well.
Jakob is the youngest of the 3 Ingebrigtsen brothers. And then we also have Brett Robinson, who I said is the team captain. He's from Australia. It's quite a collection, isn't it?
And we've changed the wingmen, Ed. This time we've got Kipchoge and Jonathan Correa now operating as the bottom of the Y.
I think in an absolutely ideal situation, they would be running a bit closer to each other, the wingmen at the back. Apparently that's what helps, you know, prevent the wash. But, you know, I think everything looks pretty good here, and I think the main thing is that Elliot stays quite close to the guy that's in front of him, the captain. I think that's the kind of key part of this formation.
Well, let's hear from one of the pacemakers. Let's hear from Emmanuel Bett, who's been talking to our reporter, Kristen Arnold.
Emmanuel, that formation, why does it work so well?
That formation is very excellent because when we go in that V shape, it really assists Elliot and it gives the pacers to attain the 250 mark per kilometer. So I think that strategy is very nice, especially towards the target of 159.59. Yes.
Have you given Elliot the best possible chance at the start?
Exactly. I hope everything will go well. Yes. So I have confidence the way he was running because I was looking from behind. If it goes, everything goes like that. Excellent. 159.59 will be capable.
And how smooth was that first transition?
It was nice. Everything was in order. It was organized. The pacers are really catching up with the formation. Yes, exchange formation.
Emmanuel, thanks for chatting to us. Go and recover.
Thank you too. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Emmanuel. Yes, his work is done for the day because he took on the first 2 teams and was one of the two wingmen. So Emmanuel Bett has done a great friend. There we've just got a great shot of the Hauptallee, the main stretch. And it's worth just reiterating, Shalane, that 90% of this entire course is flat and straight.
Yes, you couldn't ask for a more flat and straight road, and that is prime for fast running. Anytime you have to make turns is when you actually are slowing down, so they've minimized the amount of turns.
The target time holding up pretty well. We've been hovering between 8 and 10 seconds inside sub-2-hour pace. So far so good. And Ed, the next real milestone will be the 10-kilometer mark. And sub 2 hour pace would put him in, what, 28.26?
Yeah, which is a pretty tidy 10K. And he's got to do it 4 and a bit times.
Do you mind me being rude and asking what your best 10K time is?
My best 10K time is 37.22, I think. So I have, I would be going some. I wouldn't make 500 meters with these guys.
Shalane?
Mine is 30.22 from the Beijing Olympics. So, yep, not even close.
Well,
you're just better than me, Shalane.
Yeah, so approaching 10 kilometers, we'll be there in, what, a minute and a half. And just a word about this wonderful Hauptallee. You can see there the chestnut trees that line. It provides a natural protection, doesn't it? As well as being highly beautiful, particularly at this time of year. But any sense of any wind is really protected by these wonderful chestnut trees.
The Prater Park, they call it the lungs of Vienna.
Yeah,
I think
the green
that's such
lungs,
a beautiful term. But yeah, it's the trees are literally oxygenating the air, is protecting from any potential wind. However, you don't see any of the leaves moving outside today. It is still as can be.
I feel like with the fog and the leaves on the turn, and we're in Vienna, it feels like a kind of Cold War thriller. It's got this feeling of sort of mystique about it today. Like yesterday was this gauzy sunshine, and it was very beautiful. A lot of families out in the park and people running up and down the Hauptallee, and today feels like, there's something going on.
Mystical,
yeah.
Yes.
Well, we've got the Riesenrad, which is the Ferris wheel. We may get a glimpse of that at some point during this challenge, but that's at the far end, and that's the iconic Ferris wheel that appeared in The Third Man, written by Graham Greene. So there's historical references all around this course, and hats off to the research team who scoured the world. We heard at one point that perhaps London was being considered as the main venue to hold this challenge, and as we've heard, no stone was left unturned in terms of searching for the ideal venue. I think we can see today that they've got it spot on here in Vienna. It really is the most naturally appropriate venue for this.
Just have a moment here to think about how good this looks. Take away how fast they're running. These guys just look incredible, especially when you get that, the front-on shot, and you see these guys running so fast, 13 miles an hour, and the kind of ease in the stride. I think, Philip particularly and Jakob look so good when they're on the.
They make it look so easy, don't they? But reality is they've worked so hard to make it look so easy.
They've just upped the pace a little bit. We're actually 13.3 miles an hour. And we should also say that we've mentioned how world-class all of these pacemakers are. Just the sense of privilege to be included and invited to take part. You really feel that from the chats we've had with the pacemakers.
Well, they definitely are here because they want to be here. No one's forced them. They're here, they're here because they wanted to be involved with this. And I remember from Monza, that feeling afterwards, it was a near miss. There was still kind of a party atmosphere.
Oh, for sure. When he finished, I don't know if you remember, but they lifted Elliot and carried him on his shoulders. They all idolize and look up to Elliot, and I think they look at this as a chance to be a part of history today. And, it's a beautiful opportunity to help someone that we know can transcend our sport.
One of the things about it is, I think, we touched on this a few times, Elliot is part of a team. He does train with other people. But when it comes down to it, you start on the start line and you're on your own. This feels more like a kind of Ryder Cup moment, or it's a team moment in a sport that doesn't normally have teams.
Yeah,
so
they're looking to be a part of something bigger than themselves today.
And also quite fun to run. You don't want to be the guy that messes up, but also quite fun just to run with nothing personally on the line for you yourself. You're just running for someone else. I think actually that might be quite of a stress relief.
It is. It's a thrill. It's nice to have that motivation to run for someone else and really allow them to fulfill their dreams because you helped out. That's a great feeling.
Well, they're going round the second, the larger of the two roundabouts. This is the Praterstern, which is at the northern end of this dog bone that we've described the course as. And the crowds, again, really thick, several deep on all sides. And I have to say, here on the Hauptallee itself, the atmosphere is absolutely electric. We're going to bring you the latest splits per kilometre as soon as we can. But so far, so good for Eliud Kipchoge through 10 kilometres on sub-2 hour pace. And if you're just joining us here and wondering what's that funny laser green line, that's the line that is guiding the pacemakers on sub 2 hour pace. That will get them inside 2 hours on 1:59.59, or even better, we hope, Shalane. So 11 kilometers completed, half an hour of running. So we are a quarter, Ed, of the way through, and he's now fully warmed up and into his running.
Yeah, you'd say he'd be warmed up by now. Half an hour. I mean, all he's hoping for the first 3/4 of this is to keep on schedule. You see sometimes the kilometer splits drift out for a kilometer, then they come back. I think he won't be too worried about that. You know, what you worry about is if they start to drift inexorably. But he'll be thinking right now, this is, you know, he's on schedule, and he doesn't look. I don't know what you think, Shalane. He doesn't look like he's having too much trouble here.
Oh, no. I mean, well, first of all, Elliot is just a beautiful runner. And even when he does break down, it's very, very small increments. But the fact that he's within seconds of his goal predicted time right now is not a big factor. If we saw that the splits were starting to drift backwards continuously, but they're not. They're just fluctuating by a second faster, second on, maybe 1 second slower. That's really nothing to worry about right now. As long as the overall time is where we need it to be is what is important.
We can make some comparisons with how he was going in Monza, and actually up to halfway he was inside sub 2 hour pace, and at halfway exactly he was 3 seconds inside, and then at 25k he was still 2 seconds inside. Even at 30k he was only 2 seconds outside sub 2 hour pace, and he admitted afterwards that it was in the final 10k when he really started to feel it, and that's when physiologically the body starts to break down and do some strange things, and we've all experienced it.
It's where the marathon truly does start. It's when you begin the race is 10k to go, and it's all just you know, a foreplay to get to that spot where you're going to be having to race the last 10k. So this is just all setting up the stage. This is just the foundation, but the real running and the real race begins.
This is the undercoat and the primer before we apply the gloss later on.
Yes.
What about negative split? Very much the modern way, isn't it, in what we could call traditional marathon running, where we have a competitive race. This is very different here. If we believe the information we were getting at the start of the race, we're going for 250Ks throughout. Does that mean that negative splits don't come into it here?
Well, I would temper that slightly. We're saying everyone always talks about a negative split as being the best way to run a marathon. Very few people actually do it. You know, it's a hard thing to do because you feel worse at the end when you're meant to be going quicker.
For those people watching who don't know what we mean by a negative
split. So a negative split is when you run the second half of the marathon quicker than you run the first half. And we're only talking about, you know, a few seconds here. You know, the organisers and Elliot himself have, you know, come to the conclusion that, you know, an even split, first half the same speed as the second, is going to be the most efficient way to do this. So, you know, we'll see what he goes through in halfway in, but if it's something like Monza, you know, 59.50, something like that.
59.57 in Monza.
59.57. So I would think he might be a couple of seconds inside that if he's on schedule here.
As an athlete, I would want a cushion. I would want a few seconds under and hope that, you know, I can maintain or even close faster. But for sure, I would want to see something under the 60 minutes when I went through halfway if I were Elliot.
When you ran your fastest, did you run a negative split?
Yes, well, actually, good question. I think I was going for the American record in Berlin, and I may have actually positive split, to be honest, but I think I went out a little too aggressive for my fitness. But you have to find out where you're at, right? Like, you have to find out what you're capable of. So sometimes you have to push that barrier. I think this is a little bit more calculated. I think they know exactly what he's capable of. And that's the whole point. We're going to find out what he is capable of, and that's what he wants to know.
Yeah. He posted this little thing on Instagram last night, which was, you know, he wants to find out where the limits are. Well, he's about an hour away from discovering, I think.
And we've talked a lot about why this won't be a world record. And again, for those people who are just joining us, Shalane, there are 3 primary reasons why, if he does it today, it will be an extraordinary achievement. It will be an historic achievement, but it won't be a world record. Just remind us of why that is.
Yeah, there are 3 vital factors here why it would not be considered a world record by the IAAF. The first one is Elliott is the sole competitor in this race and in this challenge. In order for it to be ratified, there has to be more than one competitor. These pacers don't count as competitors. In fact, the second reason is having pacers coming in and out of the race also violates the rule. They'll be interchanging. And then the third one is the fact that the fluids will be handed to Elliott via a bike and not picked up traditionally like in a major marathon on a table. So those are the three reasons why it will not be ratified as a world record.
And Ed, I was reading actually, and you're a historian of the marathon distance, there was a point at which actually it was illegal to take on any fluid within the first 10 miles of the race. And had somebody done that at that time in history, that would have invalidated any time, any world record.
Yeah, the rules have changed in interesting and complicated ways over the years. You know, there was a race in St. Louis, the Olympic marathon, where the guy that won the race was on strychnine, which was rat poison. You know, and he was not strictly ushered to the anti-doping tent at that point in 1906. So, you know, there have always been changes to the way that these things are regulated. I think the most obvious transgression of the rules is the pace setting formation.
We're about to head to team number 4, who will take us through the pacemaking team, led by the Swiss Julien Vanders, and they're standing by, waiting for what we hope will be another smooth transition. So team 4 standing by, and let's see how smooth that transition is. Here they go. Shalane, talk us through this one.
Yeah, I'm watching the execution, looked really smooth. We have in the arm sleeves, nice choice today by Lopez Lamong, who's actually a teammate of mine, and I help coach at the Bowerman Track Club. He's a multi-Olympian. Wow, that was a great transition. I love that. And we have one of our only athletes from Japan in this team. Yeah, Lopez Lamong, like I said, of the Nike and USA, the Bowerman Track Club. Patrick Tiernan of Australia. Shadrach Koick as well.
It's a truly international team. Murayama from Japan.
Do you know what? You're not going to get a lot of windbreak out of Shadrach Koick. He's quite a little guy. I'm pleased they didn't stick him in as the captain right in front of Elliott, because he would have got about, you know, his chest up would have been
I'm curious if that was a consideration.
It must
size.
Be, right? Must be.
Yes.
I mean, but if you were just thinking about that, you'd get Lopez Lamong right in front of Elliott. He's pretty
True.
tall. Yeah.
Jonathan Correa, one of the anchor men at the back, a really lifelong friend of Eliud Kipchoge. We got a glimpse of Eliud Kipchoge there, side on, and I wonder if we'll just get a glimpse of his facial expression, just to read into how he might be feeling at this stage. But we've had 3 or 4 transitions so far. Ed, generally speaking, how pleased are you with the way the pacemaking teams have come in and come out, drop in, drop out, as it's called?
Well, you know, this event was always going to have a bit of ballet about it, and you know, you needed everyone to know what they were doing, what their steps were. I think for the most part they've been pretty good. The idea is that Elliott spends as little time out of the formation as possible, and if you've got 8 changeovers, that's 10 seconds a time when he's not in formation. So,
well, Henrik Ingebrigtsen is one of those pacemaking team. He's just come off and done his duties. He's been speaking, or he's now with Crystal.
Henrik, it's special as an athlete to be involved, but also special as a family.
Of course, it was like an everyday workout for me and my brothers, trying to stay in formation as we normally do in our training.
And how pleased were you with how smooth it went?
I think our team did a very good job. We were a little bit surprised that the laser jumped a little bit, but not completely prepared for that. But other than that, I think the turn went as smooth as it could have been, and also I think all in all, job well done for our team.
So Elliott's on track. What about you and having to extend your season for this event?
Of course, I feel happy to be part of this, and And of course, being able to participate in an event like this and also helping the marathon improve as an event, I feel happy to be part of this.
Great chatting to you, Henrik.
Thanks.
Well, it's been a long season, but I'm sure they won't have missed this for the world, particularly if history is made today. If you're just joining us, you're very welcome indeed. We could be seeing history unfolding here on the streets of Vienna, in the Prater, this famous park which runs pretty much parallel to the majestic Danube. And we are 14, 15 kilometers into this challenge. It's not a race strictly, it's a challenge, it's an attempt to run the first ever sub-2 hour marathon. And the man at the heart of it is the man in the white vest there, Eliud Kipchoge from Kenya, this supreme athlete, simply the best marathon runner the world has ever seen. He's the Olympic champion. He's already the world record holder, and he is surrounded by his band of brothers, the pacemakers. We've got 41 in total, 35 who will be active in different teams here today, 6 in reserve if we need them. And Ed, with your writing head on, you've described this as something of a Swan Lake affair.
Yeah, Swan Lake meets Chariots of Fire, perhaps. It's partly because of the choreography, but partly because of the colours. You know, Eliud's in white and these other guys are in black. I just think it, aesthetically, it looks very interesting. And, what I love is, the lasers are pouring out this place on the road where the guys have to find their marks. Imagine having to do all this running at 13 miles an hour. We're talking about, a pace that would be crazy for most people, even very fit club athletes, to consider, and you're having to absolutely hit your spots. 12 centimeters to the left or the right, you're not doing your job. Absolutely right, and as Shalane mentioned, there are parallel, you can see them now on the tarmac, those parallel lines in orange, which they have to keep within, of course, down the Hauptallee. That's very straightforward, but it's actually when they go around the 2 roundabouts at the either end of this course that becomes crucial.
Yeah, those lines are made for Eliud so that he does not cross over, so that he stays in the valid zone for running. If you were to cross over one of the lines, that would create an invalid race because he would be running a shorter tangent line than the actual distance of 26.2.
They're through 15 kilometers. Yet another little landmark has been achieved as they go round the Lusthaus once again. This time they're going anti-clockwise. This is the smaller of the 2 roundabouts, and you can see, as Shalane has just been saying, that although the pacemakers can go either side of the orange line, Eliud has to stay within it.
Yeah, and you notice when they're going around these roundabouts, they're actually losing the green line. And I think that's what Henrik was saying in his interviews, that he was a little surprised. I think they lose the green projected line when they turn. See, it just came back on right there. So I think it was a little bit of a deception. They weren't, I think, prepared to lose their line, so they have to just guess and what pace that they're running, but clearly it's not deviating too far.
If you've spotted any little bits of moisture on the camera, don't worry, it's not raining here in Vienna. The perfect conditions continue. It may be a little bit of condensation. If you were with us earlier on, you'll have seen that we had some early morning mist which rose really mysteriously and just added to the aura and the sense of excitement here. But conditions continue to be perfect. The only slight question mark, Ed, just worth reiterating, although temperature was almost perfect, the level of humidity was perhaps a little bit higher than we were expecting.
Yeah, they were not expecting that a couple of days out. And I think, when I came down here yesterday morning at about 7:30 or 8 to run on this track, that was perfect in my, there was a kind of gauzy little bit of sunshine. It was very still. The temperature was exactly right. Today feels like a different proposition. The temperature is good.
Well, the pacemakers continue to do their job, and they have been expertly put together and assembled by Spencer Barden, who is a very well-known figure in marathon running circles. He's the elite director for the London Marathon. He's been heavily involved in choosing and training and forming these pacemakers, and he's now with Crystal.
First things first, Spencer, is it going to plan?
So far, all is going to plan. So early days yet, still a long way to go, but the exchanges have gone very well so far. Eliud's on pace, so far so good.
I'm interested in the conceptualizing of the formations. Can you take us through that process?
Yeah, so we've done a lot of work in the build-up to this event in terms of looking at the formations, what was best for Elliot, what would give him the most protection out on the course. So we've come up with it's not a conventional formation. We've done a lot of testing with the athletes at the test event and here in the last couple of days. But we've got a fantastic group of world-class athletes. So they're relishing the opportunity and they're working well in the formation, communicating with each other. And so far, it's all going very well.
And we've seen you communicating with the athletes before and after. What is some of the feedback that you're getting?
Just some final instructions, really. Just more to relax, don't panic. If something does go wrong, just work it through. Don't get in a situation where the important thing is not to trip or trip each other or trip Elliot. They just got to stay relaxed. Maybe something will go wrong. Hopefully not. But the guys are experienced and they know what they're doing.
And the crucial parts come a bit later.
Absolutely, yeah. When the athletes start to get tired and Elliot starts to get tired in the latter stages, that's when we need to really focus on what we're doing. So certainly the last sort of 10k, 30k onwards, that's when it's going to get tough. But we're in a good place.
All the best for the rest.
Spencer Barden there, feeling and sounding very confident indeed, but there's an awful long way to go. And of course, the deeper into this race we get, the harder it becomes. Look at that for pacing, Shalane. Absolutely bang on the money. They asked for 250s, and in the last 3 kilometre, that's exactly what they've got.
Beautiful execution of the pace. But to be expected. These guys are professionals, and they're setting it up for Elliot.
You're a world-class marathon runner yourself. You've won the New York Marathon. Do you know what it feels like to run, not necessarily 250s, that's superhuman, but if you were running at, say, 3s or 310s or 320s, does your body inherently know what that feels like?
Well, you train the body and you train the mind. Elliot has been preparing for this moment, well, his whole career, but specifically the last 4 months. There are things he's been doing in training to increase his threshold and to allow him to be a better athlete. He, I guess, at the beginning of the season, 4 months out, started doing some gym sessions, which he'd never really done. They spanned about 2.5 hours, 3 times a week. He wasn't doing a lot of mileage yet, so he was getting in the gym to build strength. In fact, they were doing some fun aerobics and step dance mixed with lifting and stretching. In fact, there's a great video if you go to the Ineos website where you can see them all step dancing and having a fun time. He also upped his mileage from about 118 to 130K to 124 to 120 or 140 miles, I should say.
Yeah, so there have been 1 or 2 tweaks in the preparation. We should just go back from the streets here of Vienna, Ed, for a moment and propel ourselves 8,500 kilometres into Kenya, into the Great Rift Valley. I think all 3 of us have had the privilege of going up there. The conditions clearly very, very different there. Let's just let's park that thought for the moment. Another transition about to come up. We're about to hand over to the next team, and this is Team 5. This is the next changeover. They'll take them through from 18 to 23 kilometres, and the captain, Shalane, of this team, Team 5, a man you know very well indeed. Yes,
teammate of mine of the Bowerman Track Club, Matt Centrowitz. Centrowitz is one of the most decorated middle distance runners of our generation, and he's current Olympic 1500 meter champion. He's 29 years old, soon to be 30, and a team captain. He's a great communicator. He loves to talk, for sure. If anyone knows Matt, he's a talker. And there he is, slipping in, blocking Elliot. Matt is a great athlete to run behind. He is so smooth, and as an athlete, you always like to run really nice behind the clean runners that have as little back kick as possible.
They have just run in front of our commentary position, and I kid you not, blink and you miss them. It was an absolute blur, Ed.
They are something else to watch. I love watching Matt Centrowitz run.
Right?
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
It's great.
So effortless. Yep, he just came off of the World Championships. He ran 3:32 in the final. Incredible. We also have Shadrach Kipchoge from the USA. He was also in Doha. Hillary Bohr from the USA. Noha Kipkemboi of Kenya. Chela Regasa.
Yeah, one of 2 Ethiopians in the team.
And Matt Centrowitz of USA, the captain, right in front of Elliot. Solomon Barega of Ethiopia.
Yeah, the 19-year-old silver medalist in the 5,000 meters in Doha.
And our last one, Moses Koech.
So it's all change. Ed, I'm just wondering, was that perhaps not the smoothest of the transitions we've seen today?
Yeah, I think that was, you know, you saw the way that Matt Centrovich just had in his mind he was going to shield Elliott right from the very first moment, so he even shifted across with him. That was very cool. They seem to be executing these really well. You know, what the thing that to look for is, you know, I think it's Eric Kipchoge who's got to do 3 of these. You know, he's been asked to basically do a rep session where he does 3 times 5K at 14:30, you know, with the long gap in between. Let's see how good their changes are the 3rd time he has to do it, you know, because there's going to be fatigue.
The athletes will be, you know, the paces will
The paces are going to be getting fatigued.
Yeah.
So, you know, the first ones you'd hope would be really good, everyone be on their toes. The real skill is going to be to do it when you're tired.
Well, the current captain of this latest team, Matt Centrovich, has just started his journey. The previous captain, Julian Vanders from Switzerland, who spends a lot of his time up with Elliott in Kenya, he's with Crystal now.
Julian, as captain, tell us about that role and how crucial it is for today.
Yeah, my role as a captain is very important because actually Elliott is supposed just to follow me. So he's not supposed to think about anything, just follow me. And I also have to lead the guys in front of me. So if they are not on the line, I have to tell them, stay on the line, go a bit more in front. And also it's important in the roundabout because this is a little bit tricky. There is no lane anymore with the laser. So I have to keep the right lane, so in the inside as much as possible so that we don't lose time on the roundabout, yeah.
So special to be in this event, but running almost to make Elliott's dreams come true.
Yeah, it's a big honor. I think all of the pacemakers are so happy to be here. It's a privilege, and you know, for us we are just a small part. I mean, running 5K is nothing compared to 42 kilometers, and I can say it's a big inspiration, and I think he's really showing that there's no limit in his mind. Yeah.
Julian, you have such a connection to Kenya. I love your bracelet. It says run in Swahili. Tell us about Kenya, the experience of training with Elliott.
Yeah, so for me, I live in Kenya for now 4 years. I don't train with Elliott, but not far in Iten. And I have an amazing group to train with. We push each other every day, and I just like the mentality of the Kenyans. It's just so amazing, so inspiring, and it has helped me to improve so much. And I think I just find the right environment for me. I just feel like I'm Kenyan now.
And judging from what you picked up from Elliott along this section of the race, do you think he's on track?
Yeah, definitely he's on track. For now, he just I think he's feeling easy because he's not even at halfway. What I admire is the focus, the concentration. And you know, with the pacemaker coming and going out, it's not easy. So he has to be also very focused. And I think he will do it. It's not even I think, I'm sure he will do it.
Thanks, Julian.
Asana Santa, Julian Vanders there, a native Kenyan now, originally from Switzerland. So 19 kilometers completed. The next milestone, of course, will be the 20K mark. 56.52 would put him bang on course. So we've got a couple of minutes. Ed, let's just go back to the Great Rift Valley and what it's like up in Eldoret and Kaptabat. There's the latest splits coming through, 250s, and they've just slightly increased their 248 Shalane for that latest kilometer.
I mean, they're right on target. We'll get our, yeah, it says on target. I think it says under 11 seconds, but we'll get the real feedback when we hit 20K. Like you said, we want to be 56.49.
Yeah, 56.52 or something thereabouts for 20K. And 59.57 through halfway. So the next milestone will be halfway. Kaptagat, 2,400 meters at altitude. Here we are in Vienna at 165 meters above sea level. The conditions up there, Ed, very, very different. Just take us there.
Yeah, the only similarity really is that Elliott's training camp is in a forest. So he has this very simple training camp. They go for long runs through the forest and all around dirt roads. They come back, wash from water from a well. You know, it really is quite rudimentary. the training is quite often quite early in the morning, especially the long run. They would go out, at sort of 5:45, 6 o'clock.
So before sunrise.
Yeah, and the very fun thing is to follow them along in the in the Matatu bus and then watch as the sun comes up, and you've got this huge group of runners, many of them world class, running their 40K long run. That's fabulous to watch.
And Shalane, in terms of diet, when they're in the training camp, again, it's pretty basic stuff, but it's all high nutrition.
Yeah, it's all high quality ingredients because it's locally sourced from the land right there. They have a diet of milk from local cows. They have beet juice, rice, ugali, which is like a maize flour, which is a Kenyan staple, and occasional meat. But it's just really simple foods. There's not a lot of processed foods. So it really allows them to have really great nutrition. And it's not that they're trying to have great nutrition, it's just naturally the way their culture is.
Well, actually, I have to say the beet juice thing, I think that might be a new innovation because I don't remember, from a few years ago anyone doing that. But there has been some science into the potential of beet juice. So I wonder whether that's a little something's been introduced.
Just a quick weather update. There was a 10% chance of rain forecast for today, and I can confirm that it has just started to rain now. So if we see one or two splits and spats on the camera lens, that is now real rain as they go around the Prater Stern again, the larger of the two roundabouts at either end of this Hauptallee course. And they are now through 20 kilometres. We'll bring you the latest split as soon as we get it, but 56.52, Shalane, was the target for 20 kilometres. And very shortly, we will be through the halfway point.
Yeah, I mean...
They did not want rain.
They did not predict rain, but Elliot is prepared for anything. I don't think that's going to deter him in any way. He probably isn't even recognizing that it's raining. There's some great fans trying to run along the course on the outside there, maybe trying to capture a picture or encourage, but I don't think he'll be lasting very long. Oh, there he goes, chanting.
What a surprise. He's disappearing off the picture. There is Elliot. We've been talking about all sorts of things, and of course we shouldn't forget that the man at the heart of this whole day, this whole several months, years of planning, is Eliud Kipchoge.
I'm noticing just a small gap from him to Matt Centrowitz, and I don't know if it was him just giving a little space or if he's kind of falling off a little bit. It'll be interesting to see. Hopefully he tucks right back in there with Matt.
So through 20 kilometres, 2:52, so just outside the desired 2:50 pace for a sub-2-hour marathon. But the green boxes show that those kilometres were within the target. And you can see, netting out of all that, we are still 9 seconds inside sub-2-hour pace. 1:59.59, of course, is the target. Maybe even better than that. And the next milestone, Ed, will be the halfway mark. And a reminder that in Monza 2 years ago, when he had his first attempt at breaking the sub-2-hour marathon, he went through in 59.57.
Yeah, so we're looking for anything in the high 59s is good. So let's see. I was noticing that gap as well to Matt Centrowitz, and I was thinking maybe that's just the turn. Sometimes they get a bit strung out, and I don't think we've seen them from the side really on the turn, but it seems to have closed up a little bit.
Yeah, he's closed back up to Matt Centrowitz. It did have me a little nervous, though, just watching him, only because, the data shows that drafting, you conserve about 80% of energy as opposed to being out front and taking the brunt of the win.
Ed, some people have criticised or maybe had a view about the role of the lead car there. We can see perhaps that's adding extra protection and adding to the aerodynamic thing. But essentially, as far as the experts have explained to us, the only reason that car is there is to project the laser pacer.
Right, so if you look at the aerodynamics, if you talk to Robbie Ketchell, who designed the aerodynamics, he said if it were up to me, I wouldn't have a car, which, again, is counterintuitive. You'd think a car would help, but what he wants is for these front 5 guys to be hit with as big an energy flow as possible, and the car doesn't help him do that. So yeah, again, it doesn't seem like that would be right, but all the computational flow dynamics that they've been doing have told them that the best results would be without a car.
We are now approaching the second half of this challenge. 21 kilometres completed. 21.1, of course, is the exact halfway point 42 kilometers, 195 meters, or 26.2 miles, if you like your distances in the old imperial thing. And that's the scene here. It really is atmospheric. The crowd in the Prater, this green, clearing the conkers off the course. Of course, it's early autumn here in Europe, and we are on target and 11 seconds inside the sub-2-hour marathon pace. Of course, the first part of the race, the first half, is just clicking off the kilometers, really. And as we've seen, and as we say so many times at Shalane, it's really after 30 kilometers that the real business gets done.
Yeah, that's when the real running begins. I was trying to see if there was a half marathon split there yet.
I didn't see a split, so, but it...
We'll try to get that half marathon split, but I believe it was under 1 hour. We'll get that to everyone soon.
Well, we are 11 seconds inside, and I guess it's all about conserving energy and getting that balance right between maybe having some credit in the bank, Shalane, in the first half of the race, so that if things do get a little bit tough in the latter stages in that last 10K, that he's got somewhere to go. But getting that balance right, striking that balance is so important.
When it's such a finite race, and this is unknown territory, literally no human has tried to attempt this, so there's a lot of unknowns physiologically what Elliot can handle. So we may see some fluctuations here and there. I do see a little bit of strain maybe on his face. He's kind of puffing his cheeks, maybe doing a little smiling. It means he's working hard, as it should be. This should be hard. But I can see some signs that I didn't see about 5K ago that he's working.
I think
he's already working.
Yeah, I think he's having a little difficult little patch.
Yeah.
Well, we saw a couple of weeks ago in Berlin an astonishing run by Kenenisa Bekele, who also had a difficult moment in that race, and at one point he was over 100 meters behind the leader and really struggling. He said a bit of a hamstring problem or a calf problem, but remarkably came through that and stormed to within 2 seconds of Eliud Kipchoge's world record. Talk us through, Shalane, how you cope with those difficult moments, maybe a stitch or maybe a little tweak or a twinge somewhere.
You know, it's all about mentally tricking yourself. So, you know, what I've done in races is I'll try to just say, okay, pick out a lamppost or a tree and get to that point and kind of distract myself from what I'm physically feeling. The last K, I guess, was 2:52 we're getting for the 22nd K, and the 21st K was 2:48. But yeah, distraction. It's all about mental distraction to take yourself out of the moment in a way. And sometimes I'll refer back to my training back home and my successful moments where I pushed through the discomfort and the pain. I may look forward to just something as simple as getting to the next fluid station. I'll do all sorts of little tricks to get myself through the rough patches.
2:52, Ed, for the last K.
Yeah.
How high would that figure need to be before you started getting seriously worried?
It just if you saw a few in a row. I think it's less the number itself than the pattern it suggests. So I think he's trying to settle himself down now. I've just been watching him very closely for the last couple of minutes. I think he had a rough patch, and I think maybe he's just coming through it. But let's see. The next couple of splits are going to be seriously interesting to watch, because that's going to tell us whether, you know, this is on or not.
Yeah, still maintaining a very, very healthy speed here. 13 miles an hour. Needs to be hitting 13.1, of course, to consistently get to sub-2-hour pace. 26.2 miles, the full distance in miles. And let's just home in on here on Eliud Kipchoge. This is a great shot for us to see the cadence and the way, the rhythm, the natural rhythm. Shalane, just give us the expert view on what you're seeing here.
I mean, Eliud's legs are perfection. If you just look from the waist down, his heel to butt, that's what I look for, is a nice pickup of the legs, and his heel is coming right up to his butt. He's got nice pop off the road. When athletes get tired in the marathon, you'll just see that their foot tends to land a little bit heavier and wants to stay on the ground longer. We just got a nice glimpse of them run by so quickly. I feel like he's regrouped. He looks a lot better. His face is showing just a lot more relaxation.
Ed, the thumbs are out.
The thumbs are out. I think that's good news. So he's still brushing lint from his lapels. So he's as far as I can tell, I think he's come through a little rough patch there.
Well, that's good news if indeed he has. We're waiting for the 16 to get ready. They will take over at 23 kilometres and take them through to 28 kilometres. And there we are, Eric Kiptanui, who's having a busy old morning, who's back on as the team captain.
I'll tell you what, that guy's in shape. He's having to do a serious workout this morning. He's going to sleep well tonight. Okay, so we've got Philip Ingebrigtsen, who's back on for his second stint. Victor Chumo from Kenya. And Paul Chalimo of the USA.
Kenyan-born, of course.
Kenyan-born. Ugandan, Ronald Musagala.
Who's had a fantastic season on the Diamond League circuit.
The extremely industrious Eric Kiptanui as the captain here. And then we've got the Ethiopian Solomon Barega and Koech as the other wingman. So these guys are now, they know their roles. They're working pretty hard, especially the guys who are up for the second time. But for most of these guys will be the last time out. So you're not going to have to do. I think there's only one guy that's doing 3.
Yeah.
So if you've done 2, you've done a good stint.
Yeah. Well, this is the 6th of 9 teams. There are 9 rotations, if you like. So far so good out here on the course. Let's go down to Radzi. Radzi's got one of the ardent supporters. We heard from him at the top of the programme. Radzi's with Chris Froome.
Absolutely, ardent supporter is the word. 4 times Tour de France champion, Olympic medalist as well. Chris, how much are you enjoying watching Elliot do this? It is phenomenal.
It is. I mean, it's fantastic. Just incredible to watch him. It looks like he's not even breathing. He's just gliding over the road. It's amazing to be here and to be part of this atmosphere. And hopefully, we'll be witnessing history being made today.
And to that point, you're Kenyan-born. What do you think it will mean to the people of Kenya for one of their own to make history?
It would be incredible. I mean, obviously, Kenya's quite well known already for its marathon runners, but to have someone do something as monumental as this, will just be. It would be such a boost for all the athletes over there, and basically breaking barriers, showing that the impossible is doable, and especially coming from such humble beginnings, I think it would be inspiring a lot of people around the world.
Absolutely, and coming to yourself in terms of your performance, when you're, say, in the Tour de France, where does your mind go when it gets hard, when it hurts? Just like Elliot, I'm sure, will be experiencing now.
I'm sure he will be reaching that point very soon as well. I mean, this is what he does day in, day out, and it's what you almost prepare yourself for that hurt, for that feeling of sort of desperation that you don't have anything else left. So he'll be getting there, but he'll be accepting that and pushing through it. That's what it's all about, and I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure Elliot is probably the most capable human being on earth to deal with that. So let's see.
He's a special human being. Thanks for your time, Chris.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Chris Froome there, of course, 4 times Tour de France winner and very much part of the Ineos family. So much support, of course, not just within athletics, track and field, from the running community as well, but outside the sport. We heard from Sir Ben Ainsley at the top of the programme, Patrick Vieira, the former France football captain, all absolutely 100% behind Eliud Kipchoge as well. So we've heard from Chris Froome. Let's go back to hearing from the pacemakers. We saw Matt Centrowitz, of course, who was the team captain from Team 5. He's with Crystal.
Matt, there's expected to be about 20,000 fans throughout the day just being here for this moment. What was the energy like from them?
Oh, amazing. I mean, it's kind of like an indoor track feeling. It's so intimate. Everyone's like on top of you. And they must have been a couple feet away the whole way, all the way through the course. So it definitely helped carry you through each leg for sure.
The 18 to 23 kilometer leg, what was most important from that leg for you as a captain?
You know, I think that we just kind of stay within the 250 kilometer pace that we're trying to run. It's so exciting out there. The energy is just through the roof. It's kind of easy to start one step in the green line and get a little excited out there. But we're in the middle of the race, and we just want Kipchoge to feel as smooth and as easy as possible at this stage.
You're part of history, basically. How does that feel?
I mean, I still don't think it's set in yet, just kind of how honored I am to be here, be a part of this. I was just telling you earlier, throughout that whole 5 kilometers, I was just thinking like how much of an honor it is to be one step in front of Kipchoge, trying to take him through this world record attempt. So.
But there's a real side to it, so how are you feeling actually? You come from Worlds, you're here, the physical aspects of it, just for that one leg.
I think I was hoping to just feel a little bit better out there, but I was able to do my job, stay relaxed, and again, I can't just believe how he's running 8+ of these. It's just an incredible human being, a once-in-a-generation athlete, and I'm just honored to be a part of it.
Before we let you go, just one question about the challenges out there. Are there any challenges that we might not see, and did you feel any rain?
As the team captain, our biggest challenge was making sure we stayed within a line on those roundabouts, and so we can make sure he runs the accurate 26.2. So the other guys in front of me and behind us were allowed to go outside those lines, but we had to stay inside of it. And then the second, I think, just kind of difficult thing out there that you might not see on the camera is just how loud it is. So we were supposed to communicate with each other, letting you know, slow down, pick it up, stay together, pack it up. When we're doing the exchanges, like captain in, captain out, and it's extremely hard to hear out there, even when you're like 2-3 feet away from someone. So you might have to tap a guy on the shoulder or kind of bump him out of the way if you're trying to make any kind of movement out there. But other than that, it's great.
Matt, thanks for your time. Enjoy your cool down.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
Matt Centrowitz there, having done a terrific job, and you got the sense there of the pride and the honour that he feels in being part of this, what we hope will be an historic day. Lots of chatting. Just left of picture there, just out of picture is Valentine Trau, the athlete's manager there, handing now more drinks and more gels to Elliot if he wants them, and he does take something on board there. Communication, Shalane, so important throughout this process.
Yeah, I mean, he has such a tight-knit team. He has worked with the same coach throughout his career. Patrick Sang has been by his side. He also has had the same massage therapist since 2002. Elliot is just a very loyal man, and he likes to build a team of people he can really trust around him.
We've talked a lot today, Ed, about his physical prowess. We've talked about him as a person. There is no doubting his physical shape and what a naturally talented athlete he is. What about his mental state? Because as far as we know, he doesn't actually have a formal mental coach.
No, I mean, he's very much his own coach, but you see how strong he is when he gets really challenged in races. You saw it in the London Marathon this year. He was really challenged by some very strong Ethiopian athletes, and you could see his strength of mind there in burning them off. You know, he does read a lot. So he likes, you know, Paulo Coelho, you know, he likes to read self-help books. You know, there are lots of kind of business style, you know, management books in that camp. They do a lot of reading, those guys, when they're not watching Premiership football and so on. But, you know, they really try to improve themselves in that regard.
Yeah, he actually has in his home with his family a library full of books, and a few of the books that he's recommended I've actually read, because I said if Elliot thinks it helps him, I'm going to read it too. And so yeah, he's a great source of inspiration for many people in the fact that he educates himself and he's always self-improving. In fact, Patrick Sang, his coach, says, I think we're at the point in my career where I actually learn more from Elliot than I teach him.
Interesting here, just a final briefing for the next team of pacemakers who will take over at 28 kilometres. Going through final instructions, there is Tony Barden, who is part of the London Marathon team. That is metronomic pacemaking, 250s all across the board.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
That's beautiful. So you want to talk about continuity as well. Elliot's mum taught Patrick Sang at primary school. So this line continues. You know, they're from the same village, they're from the same little subset of the Nandi called the Talai. You know, he has that real connection to his home through his sport.
And we should say as well that Elliot had not just a very basic and very humble start in life. He lost his father when he was very, very young indeed. And effectively was brought up and raised by his mum as a single parent, you know, the youngest of 4 children. It was tough. You know, here's a guy who, like so many East Africans we've heard over the years, who used to run to school a couple of miles in the morning, back for lunch, back in the afternoon, back again, used to cycle to the local market, the nearest town, to take the milk from the farm to get it sold. This was a hard start in life.
Yeah, I don't think he would actually make too much of that because of the type of person that he is. But yeah, these guys, you know, who lead the world in distance running from Kenya, a lot of them come from subsistence farming backgrounds, and a lot of them have a very rough start in life. And, you know, I think Haile once said to me, "You think you can be a good runner from a good family?" You know, he felt like that kind of background fertilized your talent, you know, rather than being a hindrance. He felt like it was important for a runner to somehow, you know, to have some challenges to overcome in their early life.
Yeah, I believe there's a callousing, and, you know, probably because of his upbringing, he looks at running as a joy. It doesn't seem like a chore to him. He's had and experienced harder things in life, so running 26.2 miles is not so challenging when you've been through other things.
And his mantra, very simply, hard work, humility and discipline. And the routine that we have tried to bring across to you that Ed was describing is very much a monastic lifestyle, isn't it, Ed? It's very much run, eat, sleep and repeat again and repeat again.
Yeah, he just keeps on doing the same thing. There's no magic. There really is no like silver bullet to getting as fast and as fit. I mean, you have to have the talent, but yes, you know, you have to keep on doing the same things.
That's the mantra for all marathoners: run, eat, sleep, repeat. And that's what really breeds and produces the best results if you want to be a great marathoner and a great distance runner.
I think there was a slight trip there. Was there a trip?
Yes. I just saw Elliot kind of a little trip up in that transition.
And they've lost their...
A little rocky.
Yeah, that was a little bit ragged. You have to say that the transitions from one team to the next, they're just coming through in front of our commentary position yet again, from left to right as we look out from our commentary position here. And once again, the speed, quite breathtaking. And I can't stress enough, the crowd out on the course is absolutely phenomenal. And let's once again, Shalane, contrast that to the experiment in Monza, where there was no crowd at all. It was special invitees only, and there was simply no atmosphere.
Yeah, there was only atmosphere on the final straightaway and the back side of the track. There was no one. I mean, you could literally hear crickets, you could hear breathing, you could hear your feet on the road. I think we've all know that Elliot thrives off of an environment and the support and the fans cheering. He said when he broke the world record in Berlin that when he was running alone the last 17K, that it really was the fans cheering that was music to his ears, and that what's helped him break that record. So this is an essential, if we're talking about baking our cake, an essential ingredient to his success today, because I'm nervous right now because I know what the last 40 minutes of a marathon is going to feel like. Each 10-minute chunk is going to get harder and harder, and he's going to start relying on the environment around him.
We're now into Team 7. There is the lineup for Team 7 with Brett Robinson, the Australian, the latest captain to take over. We've got Jakob Ingebrigtsen as well, fresh from the World Championships in Doha. We have Stuart McSwain as well. And again, an international feel in this pacemaking team. 41 in total, 6 reserves, 5 teams of 7, and they're doing a sterling job, apart from perhaps that one transition we saw where there was a slight trip of Eliud Kipchoge, which would certainly not have been in the planning and in the preparation for this, but he seems to have recovered very well. We've got 15 Kenyans, 7 Americans, 6 Ugandans, we've got Australians, Norwegians, Ethiopians, and 1 Japanese pacemaker. It really is a truly international feel. 1 hour 20 in. Let's go back to our little cake metaphor. It's in the oven. It's been in the oven for 1 hour and 20. How's it looking? How's the cooking going?
Well, I got nervous there for a little bit when Elliot started to look like he was falling off pace from Matt Centrowitz, and we were in the roundabout section, and I felt like I saw some strain on his face, so I was definitely a little nervous, but I feel like he's regrouped, he's regained his composure. I feel like every time he gets, 10 minutes further into the race, he's going to start to build some adrenaline and start to get excited. It's going to hurt. He's going to have to lean into it. But I feel like he's setting himself up for some history right now. Well,
Jakob Ingebrigtsen is one, of course, of the 3 Ingebrigtsen brothers, this extraordinary dynasty of runners from Norway. Let's catch up with one of his brothers. Philip Ingebrigtsen is with Crystal.
Philip, I mean, you tried to double in Doha at the World Champs, but you doubled here today. What was it like across both legs?
It was a bit easier to do the double here, but it was really fun. We've been practicing the last couple of days and tried to give some messages and try to talk to each other during the race, but the crowd is so loud that we couldn't hear anything. So you just had to trust your teammates and help kipchoge as good as we could. And I think it was smooth. So it was fun to experience the pace and get a feeling of what goes into breaking two-hour marathon. It's an incredible feat if you can do it. So it's fast.
Let's talk about the pace. I mean, fairly even splits. What of the consistency when it comes to Elliot?
Yeah, I think that's the way to go here. To go out hard, but to be able to maintain the pace. And if you're strong in the finish, you can go even faster. But it's a thin line between an incredible race and like hitting the wall. So he needs to stay right at the sweet spot, and that's the thing he's been practicing for many years. He's an experienced runner, and hopefully he can pull it together today.
Philip, how will this impact you as an athlete in your own career?
I was thinking about it while running. It's the main motivation behind like my running is to see how fast I can be for different disciplines, like different events. So right now it's the 1500, and maybe in a couple of years my main focus will be the 5K, and who knows, in 15 years it will be the marathon. So it's cool to try road races and get a feeling of like the audience, like the crowd is really close. So that's really fun.
Well, now your hard work is done. You can sit back and relax like the rest of us and wait for that moment.
Yeah. It's going to be exciting, and hopefully we can do it. Like after Doha, my season was done, so this is my holiday, and I'm here running. So I almost like running a lot.
Good life choices. Thanks, Philip.
Thanks.
Philip Ingebrigtsen there, sounding and looking good as Crystal was saying his job is done. Now then, we saw just a few minutes ago the last splits for the last few K, 250s all the way round. And Shalane, you've been looking at the positioning on the road, on the Hauptallee of Eliud Kipchoge, and signs that actually he's feeling much better.
Yeah, so as an athlete, when I'm getting antsy and I want to run faster, I will run up on the edge and the shoulder of my pacer. And it looks like he was running up on the edge of Brett Robinson there, not running directly drafting behind him. Instead, he's on the shoulder, which to me means he's kind of like pushing. And that last K is actually showcasing it is a little faster. They ran a 2:48 last K, so 2 seconds faster than projected.
I was just wondering about this. You know, sometimes he's off on one side, and I wonder whether that's to do with what they've been told about what little wind there is, where it's coming from. So now we see what's kind of 12 seconds inside target time.
And that's the highest it's been in the race so far.
Yeah, projected 1:59.47.
But isn't it amazing how much better he looks now than he did 15 minutes ago?
We can only speculate. We don't know how he was feeling. If he did go through a bit of a moment, Shalane, what might that have been?
You know, it could be something as simple as just his drink not settling well in his stomach. And, you know, I've had circumstances in which the fluids are kind of coming up. They're not settling well in the stomach. And it could be something as simple as that. It seemed really early on to see him kind of straining, so I'm guessing it was maybe a fluid issue.
This is the quickest they've been running at any stage during the whole challenge, 13.3 miles an hour. And this side-on shot, let's just go to this again, because we see in all its glory, Shalane, the cadence and the natural running style of Eliud Kipchoge.
He's just like artwork flowing down the road. I mean, they all look good. He's running with world-class athletes. But he stands out to me. He just has the absolutely efficient, perfect form for a marathoner.
You see the top half of his body, it's like a rifle target. You know, he stays so still, and his legs are doing this work, and then, you know.
And his core is so strong and straight, all momentum. If you see, they're running ahead of the green line, it seems. So it seems like they're feeling good.
This is a